And now, Team No Excuses presents The Ray Lewis Show.
JB, you always got to come on with a little groove, JB. You got to know how to groove to it, JB. One day I'm going to drop that shoulder to it, JB. Yes, oh, look at JB.
Are my shoulders too stiff?
Yeah, I got to help you out.
That's right. I need a lot of help. There you go. So you tell me, dude, what is going on?
What is going on? Welcome to the show. I'm telling you, No Excuses present the Ray Lewis Show. JB, I got to get into this immediately. What is going on? Le'Veon Bell signs with the Kansas City Chiefs. Are you serious? Who does that?
Look, here you have one of the best running backs in the NFL going to, I don't know how many people are arguing that the Chiefs are not the best team. They're not the best or one of the best. You put those two things together and everybody's saying, oh my God, how are you going to stop the Kansas City Chiefs? Look, there's only one guy on that roster who is truly irreplaceable. We know Patrick Mahomes is truly irreplaceable. Everybody else can be replaced, but Le'Veon Bell certainly helps.
Yes. I look, I knew something was brewing. You know, you heard Buffalo in the air, and you heard all these different places. But if a person like himself, who's traveled from Pittsburgh now to the Jets, he's trying to go find a team to win a ring, right? It seems like it's a one-year deal. And all of the weapons that they have, wow. Look, this just makes them that much more dominant. And I think the control game, right? If you watch what happened to them last week playing against the Raiders, right? They really got manhandled up front, right? And to go make this pickup with this type of back, being that elusive and that young and still having the legs that he has, John, for me, JB, this is a big pickup for the National Football League.
It's a big pickup for sure. What's interesting is when the Raiders kind of thwacked, the Chiefs a bit. I think it has to be, and Ray, you know better than I do, there are definitely letdown games. There's a lack of crowd. There's, everywhere the Chiefs go, they've got a target, and it's going to be really hard to go 16-0, which obviously now they won't. But if you're going to lose, you might as well have it be to the Raiders early.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Look, and it's a division foe. They know each other very well. Look, let's get on to something else because I'm telling you, this is going to be the hot topic for a very, very long time in the National Football League on how this deal came about. Look, I got a really interesting guy coming on later, man. He's a brother. He's a friend. He's somebody that I'm about to start training with. Looks like you know him very well, JB. He's going to be on a little later, but Vito Buford. Wow. Imagine that guy, Buford. That's that guy. Anyway, I watched too many of his fights, but today's thought, right, is about knowing your power, right? Understanding your power, right? Because JB, when you understand your power, let me help you understand something about your power. Your power gives you the ability to accomplish the things that man say are impossible to accomplish if you know your power. But your power, watch this, it has to come from a place of where you're familiar with. That Bruce Lee said something so profound. He said, I fear not the man that practiced over 10,000 kicks one time. He said, I actually fear the man that practiced one kick over 10,000 times. See, when you know your power, then you understand how to be yourself, know your power, and be confident in what you have to contribute. And when you have that ability, that's where leadership kicks in, JB.
It really does. And when we talk about having power, how do you develop power? And the way that I think we can best illustrate how to be powerful is to understand that it doesn't come all at once, that your current power output is X. And tomorrow it's going to be X plus 1 and X plus 2. And it becomes exponential eventually with repetition and repetition. And whether or not that's thought or action or intention. That repetition is what creates your power. And like Ray said, you need to know what your power is. You need to take a check today. Yeah. What is it? What can I do? And how do I build on it?
Absolutely. What is your greatest strength? But before anybody else finds this out, you need to research what's your greatest weakness, right?
100%.
I'm telling you, you take sports, and I'm telling you, I use sports all the time for the analogies of life, right? If you don't find your weakness before you line up against Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, and any type of quarterback who has the science that they have, they will find your weakness. And sometimes your weakness may not be you. Sometimes your weakness may be in a third or fourth corner.
Right. Right. You know what I love when a lot of people say, oh my God, Ray Lewis, and this is the part that just drives me crazy. Ray Lewis is great because he was just a genetic freak. I'm like, hold on a second.
No way.
Hold on a second here. So you're telling me Ray was the biggest, the strongest, the fastest ever? I'm like, have you ever met Ray? Big, but there have been guys who are bigger. Yeah. And you mean to tell me Ray wasn't obsessed with studying film and identifying weaknesses and getting from A to B the quickest? Like, he didn't just waltz on the field and become the greatest. He studied. You studied. And all your stories about, I'll never forget, you were telling me a story one time, Ray, where you were saying, look, I'm studying film and I'll look for tells from the guard to see if someone's going to be pulling, and they might just be wiggling a finger. And when they wiggle the finger, it means they're nervous because they're going to be pulling, and you'll call them out and say, don't pull. I know you're pulling.
I know you're pulling. Listen, it's when you become yourself, when you are able to be yourself, right?
Yep.
I wasn't the biggest, the fastest, or the strongest. But I tell you what, my mentality was knowing my power. Let me tell you something. Knowing your power is actually what creates humility. And not knowing your power is what creates insecurity. See, that's what you got to be careful with, right? Because when people don't know their power, that's when they look for it from everybody else, right? Yep. And that's when kids try this and kids try that. And hey, do this and do that. Let me tell you something. When you know your power, you're so humble because you know only certain people know you have that power. It's like a lion wakes up every day on the Serengeti, and whether he lion or gazelle, when that sun come up, he better be running. That's a fact. But not knowing your power is what creates insecurity. And if a lion doesn't know that he has his pride, he becomes a rogue lion and he travels the world by himself. Individually, as people, we have to know our power. If we don't know our power, we live in a world of insecurity.
I love that, Ray. And I love, look, the logo for Team No Excuses is a lion. And I love your thought. Be a lion. Like, be a lion. The lion doesn't hang out with hyenas. Be a lion. Hang out with other lions.
Yeah. It's a mentality. It's a mentality. I'm telling you, that's what makes great and good so different. Because good is fitting in, right? Great is actually fitting out.
Yep.
Right? And talent, watch this. Talent only opens the door to greatness. Humility closes the door to greatness.
Love that. Love it. You're just like, we just all need to walk around, and that's what part of this show's doing, right? Is gathering brilliance. Just like you're just dropping knowledge on us.
JB, let me tell you something. Every time you come to the Ray Lewis Show, one thing you will walk away with, have a pen and a pad, because you'll have a bunch of gems to walk away with. And I'm not talking about gems with basketball goals. I'm talking about gems that you can live with the rest of your life. JB, we ready to go. We talking about the Ray Lewis Show, baby. You got to be ready to go. Full of energy. Huh?
Full of energy. And, in terms of knowing your power, let me just tell you one thing.
Yeah.
The power of today's guest
is
like when we talk about here are some great athletes and here's somebody who worked hard. Not sure there's ever been somebody who works quite as hard and is quite as powerful. And when you meet him and you shake his hand, Ray, when you shook our guest's hand, what happened to you?
I'm not nervous about a lot of things, but I wanted to make sure I was on his good side.
That's right. That's right.
But I'm gonna tell you something. Before we bring him on, right? What we dwell on is exactly who we become. We have to start dwelling in our skills. When you spend time with your skill, then you appreciate the talent, right? Because when you understand our skills, JB, listen to what one of my greatest abilities was. My greatest ability was to look at another man and let him know there's no way you can win. That was a skill. You know what that skill was? I'm not blinking. I'm not, there's no plan B, right? So what you dwell on, what you put in your mindset is exactly what you become. That's why every time I came on the field just like a lion. I came on the field jumping around the stadium. You saw every time I came out there because y'all don't even know where I'm dwelling in my mind at right now. Right.
Now, what we dwell on is who we become is another way of saying,
tell me,
if you can see it and believe it, you can achieve it because you're parked there, right? Yes. You're parked there. And every time when you walk on the field, here's what's interesting. Every time that you walk on the field, do you actually win? No. But do you think you're going to win?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's no other way.
And you're going to get everything I got for me to prove that. I've lost many a battles. But boy, the ones I won, my goodness, right? Muhammad Ali said a quote. I put it up in my locker a long time ago. He said, I hated every day of training, but if it meant spending the rest of my life as champion, I'd do it all over again. What we dwell on is simply who we become. Look, I gotta go ahead. I just want to bring our guests on, man. I don't want to waste no more time. This man here is about to start training me, and I cannot wait until me and this man get in the ring together. I mean, I'm just glad I'm his friend. I'm glad me and him are brothers, and I love him to death. But welcome to the show. Welcome to the Ray Lewis Show. The man, the myth, the legend, one of the greatest warriors of all time, Vitor Belfort. Vito, what's up, man? Talk to me, baby. What's up, brother?
What an honor. What an honor. And I'm just taking all my notes here. I don't want to miss all that. Ray, you've been an inspiration, not just for me, but for my whole family. I always tell my kids and my wife, I say, listen, you cannot live your life without looking to somebody else and knowing that he paved the way. So it is such a pleasure to be with you, JB. So it's we have a story that people are gonna know about it, where we met first time.
Totally.
But I like, I would like to just to share something that, we are talking about things. So it's this, the reason we do things are more important than the things we do. I got to repeat it because you got to just realize that it's a very powerful. So it's called it's an action and a reaction. So behind every action exists the intention. Mm-hmm. We are judged not only by what we do, but also by intention of our action. And I mean, when I say action, it's like people say, I'm good. I say, listen, man, Jesus said that nobody is good, only God is good. And I realize that, and I understand that when I look to my pitfalls, because when we think we are good, when we think we got it, when we think the powers is something that is always going to stay there, and it's not true. And I'm a big believer that is for the sacrifices to happen, you need the fire, but the fire has to burn every day. So imagine that place that they had, the Holy of Holies, this fire is eternal, but it's by wood. It's not by gas. So it's people putting that wood and cut that wood and putting that wood, and the fire keep burning. So the hardest part for an athlete, for a father, a mother, for anybody lives and watching life, because greatness, like Ray says, it's something that relies inside of you, but you have to provide the wood, you have to provide the sacrifice, and the fire is something that have to keep burning. So every time I do something, I like to make sure what my actions. So it's almost like going back to the story that woman give the only coin was nothing. And everybody give lands, give goats, give everything. And God said, there has more value on that little coin. And people could not understand. So, and that message I'm saying, because I'm talking to everyone right now. Be careful if you're a donor. Be careful if you have a lot of money. Because the Bible said it's easy for a camel to go through a needle than the wealthy man go to heaven. So I'm working myself there, because when I didn't have a lot, my heart was more like leaning more towards the grind and not expecting result. Because when you don't have anything, you're happy with everything. If you know what I'm saying? So the more things we start getting access to it, we become called the comfort zone. And I mean, why that kid? And I go back, Ray, I always like to my kids, hey kids, let's go back, on that place where Ray, you on that house, you're watching your mother, you're watching everybody else, and you feel like powerless. But actually your struggle made who you are. Absolutely. And what I mean, your struggle, it's not your victories. It's not the titles, it's not the rings. That's all the plus. That's all actually brought a lot of trouble, because they bring everybody start thinking, oh man, you're the man, you're the man, you're the man. And the reality is, the only reason we are the man, because we went through hell. And when I say hell is this, people say, oh man, and I believe when Jesus died and they bury him, and I ask people, where do you think this 3 days before he beat death, where do you think he was? And they, he's in heaven. I say, no, he's in hell. Because actually hell was made by God, not by the devil. The devil, the only thing he does is lie, and he's trying to use the manpower against himself. He doesn't have, the only pattern he has is lies. But let me go back to that 3 days in hell. Jesus was not suffering in hell. He is ruling hell. So I always tell my kids, you can have the presence of God in heaven or in hell. Which one you choose? You can have both, because he's present in the darkness, in the light. And I mean, my Jesus in the white horse, full of blood, eyes of fire. My Jesus is not that meek man on the cross and with the hands that never work in his day of his life. And being real with you guys is like, we live in a weak society, Ray. You know that. I'm tired. Everybody's a life coach. So when I tell my kids, you want to listen to a life coach? Hold on. Just press Motivation Ray Lewis. Forget everything else. Just watch him, hear him, because you're going to feel it. Because when you put these guys that they have great lighting, great makeup, they look pretty, they know how to talk, but they made a course on how to talk, and they're full of crap because they never did nothing in their life. And they become successful because they have tons of followers, but the reality, nobody knows what they did in life. Yeah. And we live in a very weird times right now.
When did you know? First of all, when did you know that martial arts was the route that you were going to take? Was it young? When did you know that?
In a very young age, Ray. I was a champion in soccer, tennis, and my parents are always giving me middle class from Brazil. They provide me everything, sports. My dad was a volleyball player from the Brazilian team. He won the championship. They went to the Olympics. A fantastic guy, but he never was a father figure in the sense of teach me father things, but he provided the sport. And in the sport, I always could not fit in on the sports because people had money, people had access to things, and I was just talent. And I hated it. I was very aggressive kid, and I didn't fit in tennis back in the days because it was not aggressive as it is today. So I had a lot of rage in myself, and I didn't fit in what you should look like. And I find fighting as a way out to express, because inside of my house, my dad and my mom fought physically, verbally, very abusive house. You know, it was like I called the Palestine and the Jewish. So everything was flying on their house. It was kind of crazy. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to start fighting. And I live in a very tough neighborhood. And I went to jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu was a very martial arts, more physically and like a man-to-man type of thing. But when you're fighting on the street, you got to know how to strike. So we used to do sparring on the street, and our mouthpiece was we used to put wet toilet paper and put on the teeth and just go there and just like until one fell. And it was like, who's the best man wins. And that's how I discovered that I have a great hands, and I developed my hands. And when I came to the scene in a very young age, because I knew I had to move to America, because America was the land of dreams. So I left Brazil. I dropped 8th grade. My parents signed a letter. Imagine, they don't have any money. They signed a letter believing in my vision that I said MMA is going to be the greatest sport of all time. This in 1990.
And you said this at what age?
I was 8th grade. So I'm 15 years old.
8th grade when you convinced your parents
to sign a letter, let me fly to America.
And then who'd you stay with?
Yeah.
So I came. They had a guy. His name is Frederico Lapenda. I made a trip to Hawaii. My mom sold the car. We went to see her boyfriend, and we discovered in that trip. I was a very like a hustler kid. I discovered that her boyfriend was a drug dealer, and it was crazy. It was panic, and I was just like, I just went nuts. And when I went back, I just said I want to become a fighter. And I met that guy who was one of the friends of the boyfriend of my mom. And by the way, he's not involved in drugs. I say, Victor, I'm going to be a producer of Hollywood, but I want to get involved in fighting. I heard you're a very good fighter. And now UFC, I say, I want to fight in UFC. Get me in it. Get me in it. I'll fight. I'll fight any man right now. Get me a guy. So I was ready to fight because I was already prepared by Carson Gracie, the guy who really was the best Gracie of all time. He was my coach. So I was like 15, but I was a lethal weapon back then. And I beat the champion in Hawaii. I went to visit a gym. One of the Gracie was there, and they challenged one of the students, and no one was there. I said, hey, man, I can fight. And I beat the Japanese, and they put me on the magazine. And then I went to LA, and I said, I can't convince my trainer to come here. So I went back. I convinced my trainer, said, listen, Carson, you got to tell my parents, man, they need to sign that letter. They got to let me go fight before 18. And so he convinced my parents, and we flew to America, and that's how everything started. So my life story, it's like a Cinderella Man movie.
Yeah.
And so it's crazy, but the beginning is very easy. We went there, Mickey Hook used to be my student, and he wants me to become his bodyguard. I used to go to nightclubs with him to and the first time I went out with him, I said, this is not the life I want, Mickey. I cannot stand with drugs. I cannot go into fights because I want to become a professional athlete. That's not. So thinking about a sport that never been, back then was like porn can be in TV, but fighting cannot be in TV. That's how crazy it is to be.
It's crazy.
Wow.
That's how I started. Like I literally opened all the ground for until in 2000, Lorenzo and Dana White and his brother Frank fought the UFC, and it's so successful today. And it's sad that took so long, but unfortunately, it's like a vision, Ray. Like when you're a kid, you know what you're going to become. It's
Absolutely.
like you press it in, and you just know it. And I had only plan A. I didn't have plan B. So that's how
none of us had a plan B. None of us had a plan B. JB, when was the first time you ever saw Vitor fight?
Well, he fought in the early days of the UFC. I mean, the earlier days. And one of the things that I admire the most about Vitor is that he never backed down from a fight. Every fight, Vitor, you had your famous trilogy with Randy Couture, a good friend of mine. And you fought Chuck Liddell, you fought Randy Couture, you fought the best of the best. and you never back down. And back then, in the sort of earlier days of the UFC, the sport was different because the fighters, it was a more raw sport. It wasn't as technical and as it is now, where everybody has to be good at everything. It was a very different sport, and that idea that you were willing to fight anyone, anywhere, no matter what. Did you get that? Did you always have that inside of you, that you just weren't going to back down no matter what?
Yeah, and that's something that it's actually took me to bad places as well. So you got to pick your fight in the right moments. And if you know what I'm saying, it's like I always, for football, it's always this: when you injury, you just treat your injuries. You have to fight your injuries. So I tell you the things I did in fighting, you're not going to believe. I had a surgery. I had a meniscus surgery 3 weeks before my fight. And I went there and fought. I flew all the way to Japan. I lost 10 kilos, 20 pounds in a day. So I did some crazy stuff that I don't recommend.
20 pounds, you lost 20 pounds in one day.
In a half a day.
Wow.
It's all water. All water. So, and like example, back in the days, it's crazy, Ray. And another thing is this, my second fight with Randy, actually my third fight with Randy, I was dealing with my sister. No, my sister get kidnapped and missing 3 weeks before my fight with Randy, the second fight. I fought, I came back. I was dealing with, you don't understand. I was dealing with, that's something we're going to touch later. I was dealing with one of the worst things in life, and I was very depressed. But back then, nobody had social media and nobody has the feelings for the other person. So I got a call from Dana and say, Victor, you got to do the rematch for Dana. You have to do that. And as a fighter, you never say no. I should have said, Dana, no. We don't have agents back in the days. Everything did with us. So I said, okay. So the promoter was easy to kind of, we have to do what they tell you what to do, because we all figured out what we do. So it's not that Dana was wrong. It's just like what we know is right. We got to work, we got to go, we got to, but I always. What was the greatest thing?
What was the greatest thing? What was the greatest thing that you learned from your skills? What did you learn from fighting? What can you take from the ring now, from the mat now, to life? And what can we give somebody? Give me 2 points.
Number one,
stick
with your strength, not with your weakness. Invest in your strength. Invest in your strength. So example, Ray, I am a lion. If the lion trying to run for, I'm gonna hunt now differently. I'm gonna take my time, and I'm gonna start little, and then I'm gonna start picking up later. They're never gonna get anybody. The lion gotta sprint. The lion gotta create hey, I go from here, you go from there. We're gonna catch them over here. A lion, it's a lion. So it's like, stick with your strength. If you're a lion, don't try to become a gazelle or a cheetah or whatever. So stick with your strength. And what I mean is, like, today I see a lot of trainers, coach, hey, let me work on your weakness. No. Know your weakness. You gotta know your weakness.
Know it.
You gotta know. But you cannot work from there. You start from your strength and you invest. Like, if I tell someone right now, I know my son now was elected the #1 quarterback in the class 2025. And every day I say, listen, man, you're nobody. You're nobody. You're nobody. You're never going to be somebody, because the moment you think you are someone, that's when you start falling. So the rent is due every day.
Every day.
You want to keep #1. You call Ray and say, Ray, what's the mentality of a #1? The #1 never know he's #1, because never. Because King David thought he was in the top of the line. Hey,
oh boy!
You know what? It's springtime. It's time to go to war, King David. You know what? I killed thousands, and I can relax. Go, you guys go to war. I meet you guys later. Guess what's happened?
Yeah.
Everything happened with King David when he's not supposed to.
Everything failed.
So I'm a big, if I can go back again, I'll stick with my strength. And I mean, when I say stick with your strength, I mean, you got to know your strength first and invest it, but also you got to know your weakness. Because when you know your
man, what the fuck? What? Lions. They have one mentality. They don't have a plan B, right? And that's why sticking with your strength is the greatest ability that you have, because when you stick with your strength, and I said it earlier, but you better know your weakness. Don't spend time on your weakness, but you have to know your weakness.
You gotta know.
You gotta know it.
And I think our weakness number one in ourselves, I call the first Adam weakness.
Ooh.
What is the first weakness of a man? Is just the first Adam. Hey, God, was the woman that you gave me. That's not my fault. You gave me that woman. Look what she made me do. We always pointing fingers to everything else around us, but we don't take responsibility. So I took responsibility to myself to say, okay, you gave me an opportunity to say, Victor, what you learned the most? The three things. Number one is what? Stick with your strength. Number two, never point fingers. Never. Take ownership. What the quarterback does, I told my son, what a quarterback does, it's always my fault. Because when it's always your fault, you have humility right there.
Absolutely.
And then after you can work around it. Yeah. But a teammate that is it's your fault. Oh, that's your fault. So now we're just going to go down the hill. And you can speak better, because a team sport, I wish I can have fighting to be a team sport. I wish I can have like Navy SEAL, have some guys with me in battles. I wish we can have like, hey, let's go. That's an idea. But imagine if I can fight in the days like me and you, we fight two another man at the same time. Man, that would be amazing. I remember one day I fought in the street.
That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing for who?
For us,
running. I'm gonna make sure you fight the most.
Me and you versus another two men. So I remember when I was in the street, I had to fight. I'm not kidding. I was in the street. We had to fight like 10 guys at the same time. Me and my friend. And the first thing we saw that things happen, we put back to back. We stay safe, because first thing, everyone gonna attack from the back. We don't have eyes behind the back. So we say, okay, we're gonna get hit in the face, but we're gonna stay here until the cops comes. So we are fighting against. So they didn't have. So everything was hand. So I say every time the guy drop in, we fake a punch and we throw right in the chin. So we start dropping the first guy, the second guy, the third guy. And by the way, the 10 guys, they start, go you first. No, you go first. You go first. And what I told him, I said, now we got to advance. Because when you see weakness, you got to attack. You got to attack. I say, listen, we're going to have to expose now. You go and attack these 3 guys. I go and attack, and they're going to run. So we attack and they all flee. And from that thing, I was so scared, and he was so scared. We are celebrating in the car. And I said, if I can go back now, what made us become a winner? We would have died if these guys knew how to attack us.
What made you become a winner? What made you become a winner? Was it your mentality?
I think is uncertainty. Knowing their uncertainty. So example.
That's really good.
Yeah. So the uncertainty was there. I remember like was yesterday. I was fighting the tournament on UFC. I had only 19 years old. I was flying with Mark Coleman right on my side. He's huge, like 255. And I was like 190. And I said, Mark, how you can get these biceps? How I can get this, how I can get big muscles, And he was talking like, hey, Victor, hey, I do weights, I did wrestling, whatever. I said, wow. Then I was impressed with the size of these guys and all that. But I was inside killer. I was a killer. But I was looking on the outside. And then I remember when I got to the hotel and Carson came to me and said, Carson, what's going to be the strategy? I want to know how. I say, Victor, shut up. You have the strategy in you. You're a killer. You're going to move. You're going to hit them in the face, and you're going to knock everybody out. Trust me, no ground. You're going to use your speed against these giants. And the first guy I fought was the guy with no chest, a huge 275. And no gloves. I had gloves. I had everything. But back in the days, you can kick with shoes. Was totally different. And I was so afraid. But when that thing closed, and now it's time to uncertainty. It's either me or him. And I said, okay. So I believe that people say, you know, I don't have fear. They're all liars. We all fear. The difference between those who admit the fear and encounter the fear right there and don't run away from the fear. So that's what I did. I think what made me become the phenom, I think, was the fear of have to go back to my country with the tails behind, because that's what they told me. My uncle, you're gonna come back to this country because this sport is like you're like a criminal. You're gonna go. So they all are betting on one side that I'm gonna go back to Brazil with nothing, and I had only one chance. So I said, I choose that. I believe it. I gotta prove it to everybody that I'm gonna make it. So the uncertainty, I think that's what makes me who I am.
Hey, Vitor.
Go ahead.
Vitor, I got a question. You mentioned earlier about your sister, and she went missing in 2004. It was a huge story then, and it's even a huge story now. Give everyone the perspective of, what is actually going on in the world now, because a lot of people think that, human trafficking and tragedies like that are just stuff you read about, and that it's not what's actually happening in the world.
So first of all, me and Ray, we are together. We're going to be the two athletes. Like I say, Ray, we're going to challenge in every major athlete, and especially those who had kids. So a big thing's happening right now. Just to tell you a bit about it, it's $34 billion industry a year. This industry is called sex trafficking. I'm not talking about the organs, the illegal organs that people buy. I'm not talking about the illegal, I don't say adoption, buying kids. Costs $100,000 in Brazil, blue-eyed kids. So depending of your status, how much. So basically right now, we are, as a society, we are losing the value of who we are. Okay, let's put in perspective the Jewish, the Muslim, the Christians, the Hindu, whatever culture you are created on in, that you trust on your God, you worship your God. Yeah. Okay, so they have three things they call the virtue. The virtues, it's very important. What's the commandment that Jesus said, the highest commands? He said only two, forget all the rest, just two. Obey God first, put God first, worship only your God first. Second one, love your neighbor like you love yourself. So just do good as you want to do with you, just do with them. But he said, love your neighbor. And he didn't say just treat the way you want it to be treated. No, he said love your neighbor like you love yourself. Mm-hmm. And I believe the problem of the world right now, people hate themselves. People hate their identity, who they are. They hate. So that's why we're in crisis right now. And I call missing people. No one get missing in the world today, brother. I'm sorry. No one get missing. We have phones. So it's not missing. It's called trafficking. We have a industry of traffickers. And I mean, they are in this industry right now. They have senators, they have a judge, and we're going to expose all of them. By the way, me and Ray, we're going to go to Texas. We have a Texas a judge right now. I don't know then his name, but everybody going to know his name. He's not one of passing a law. He doesn't want to go after kids that have sex with 5-year-old kids. Thinking about, they have people selling kids in your neighborhood where you are right now. 5 miles where you are right now, someone is being sold by sex right now. They've been sold in the web. So we live in a very corrupt system. And I mean, but I don't want to talk just about it, the corruption. I want to talk about where is the poison. I don't like to go and talk about what's going on. Let me see where's your lick. Don't show me where is your water. The water goes everywhere. I want to see where's the water is leaking. The water is leaking in one place. Right now, fake news are the most consuming things. It's 80%. Selling. People are making money, profit with fake news. Wow. So thinking about the no excuse, thinking about what we are here talking the truth. And the truth sometimes is not true accepted because, put me in a place of being uncomfortable because I'm not that guy. But I'm saying I'm if I can tell with all of you guys, I'm the most condemned guy. I think I'm the worst guy. And that's how I'm working in progress to be a better father, to be a better husband, to be a better, whatever it is. But we are living in a society that people, they don't love themselves anymore. And that's why our kids are vulnerable. They are the YouTube, the Instagram, the Facebook, all the social media become the social dilemma are shaping their culture. And we're losing our kids for this AI.
Yeah, it all, Vito, what you're talking about, it all works hand in hand. And this is what me and you've been talking about, right? We've been talking about getting in this fight, right? And so, I started a company not too long ago, SWAT, Sports World Against Trafficking. And it's a real thing. It's a real thing, V. I've had late night phone calls of somebody, daughter being taken right in front of them, and to know that is why we have to move the way that we're moving, right? And the culture and the temperature of our world, we have to do something. If everybody here is a child. I don't care who you are. You're a child. You were brought here by somebody, and a lot of people have children. And if you have children, then we need to have an understanding, and we need to do a little bit more homework on the horrific crime that's happening in the world of trafficking. It's so disgusting, JB, that it's one of those things, right? And I want to make sure that we stay with time with Vito right now, because that world on what me and him are really diving into, it's a whole nother chapter. Your mindset has to change. You have to be willing to sell out for it, because there are babies, there are young kids, there are men, there are young babies that's being sold off purely for sex. And like I said, it's something that I've been passionate about for a very long time. So Vito, I'm really excited that you brought that up, man. And I'm really excited to walk beside you to really start to make a dent in this world and expose all of the people that should be exposed, man. But I tell you, I learned so much from one thing you said, right? And one of the things that we're focusing on is, how do you take ownership, right? How do you take ownership, right? And another thing you said, right? We ain't never pointing fingers. So we ain't gonna tell nobody else to go do it, right? We gonna go do it. We gonna get it done. And I appreciate you, man. But I'm just telling you, JB, this is something that's it's a sore spot. It's a sore spot for me and him. We deal with it a lot, and I don't think people really understand the ramifications of it. In just Atlanta alone, in one subdivision of Atlanta, there's over 7,000 transactions that happens daily. That's transactions that actually are reviewed and looked, and kids are being sold through those transactions. So it's a real thing. It's a real thing. And
Ray, we cannot forget, they sell image. So thinking about they have sex with kids and cutting the umbilical cord. Right. They're so sick of their mind. You guys gotta watch the movie. I send you the link.
Yeah.
Craig, Jacob Bonniers. We have some. And he's a Navy SEAL Team 6 sniper. Yeah. His daughter was raped. With 18 years old. 5 hours she was being raped by this guy. And so it's an amazing story. They share their pain. I love when they share their pain, like Ray, like you. For me, you are the few people I respect highly in my life. God is always there, but I got mans I respect. And the mans that I respect is not those that look pretty on the outside. It's those that expose their weakness. Because when you share all your victory with me, we're just gonna, wow. We don't brag about ourselves. You always share your bad side. You always show your bad side. So that's the reason why people connect with you. And I will say the third thing, go back to the third thing, is called no excuse. It's take ownership. So first of all, It's like it's the second one, and the third is like no excuse. You cannot give me excuse. Hey, I'm sorry. I'm wrong. So how can we change? You can only change when you not blame me, but when you assume it's me. And that's why I told they have two kings. People talk about these two kings, King David and King Solomon. The wisest man on the planet, they say, is Solomon. I disagree. He only wise when he asked for wisdom, but he lost that wisdom. Because when we ask, you remember, when you ask for something, it doesn't mean it's going to have for the rest of your life. Right. Because you can have something now and you can lose it tomorrow. So that's what I say. Conversion for me, becoming a Christian is every day. You're born and you die. You're born and you die every night. Yeah. You know, tomorrow is totally different day. Yep. But what I say is like when you admit, hey, it was me. That man is me. I need, and that's what's the heart of David. I rather have the heart of God than to have the wisdom, the money and wealthy. And that's what we live in the world today. Kids, they want to have money at all costs. They have to be famous at all costs. And your fame, Ray, you went and you had injuries, you bleed, you went through everything. You didn't just become famous out of the blue because you did a video or you did something that went viral. You put the grind. And so we live in a very society that people are lost, but the hope is still there. And we just have to put people awareness. Hey, wake up. And if I can just finish with this thing that I did for myself, and I'll encourage everyone to get a note and write down these three things. So I call the 3 questions that I try to answer every month. So these 3 questions, I go on my phone and I try to answer, and the answers change every month. Okay. First answer I have to ask you. First question is, what do you value the most in life? Wow. I have to put everything into details. What do you value the most in life? And the question number 2 is kind of going back to the past, but it's not for regret. So this is, think back on time when you made important change in your life. What step did you take to create those change? So I call the past and present question. The third question is I call the future present. So I never go to the past if you cannot bring to the present, and never go to the future if you cannot. So I call the awareness. So the number 3 is called name 2 areas in your life where you like to make changes and what change you like to make it. So this is the 3 questions you got to have yourself. And then I said, you got to ask 3 questions for relationships in your life, your spouse, your friends, everyone around you. Yeah. And I like to ask this question to them. Do you care for me? Do you care? The word care. You care for me. Number 2, can I trust you? Because I can only trust you if you care. If you don't care, I cannot trust you. So you care for me, you trust, can I trust you? And the number 3 question is, it's remarkable. How can I help you? It's nothing to do with you. I got to sacrifice something for you. If you are in my circle, it's how can I help you? And you never know the answers. Sometimes it's just, it's just a time. So, this is the 3 things I call the awareness. If we can ask these questions for us and for those around us, we can have a great society. Absolutely. Wow.
Brother.
Wow, Ray. Vitor. Yeah, Vitor. Listen, before I let you go, I want to remind everybody of where we met. We for sports science, we had a thing called the Newton Awards, and it was celebrating the greatest moments in sports of the year from a scientific standpoint. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you still have your Newton Award above your UFC belt.
Yeah. So this is the UFC belt, but the most important things are here.
Yeah, look at that. The Newton Award right there.
Look at this. Yeah. Look at the reunion.
Love it.
It does not. Right? Listen, guys, it does not get any better, man. Vito, I thank you, brother. JB, I've been blessed tonight. I've been in church. I've been in church. I learned so
Absolutely.
much tonight, just understanding, and there's so many layers to this man, of who he is and how he became who he is right now, man. And I'm excited to be partnered with you. I'm excited to walk in life with you, and I'm definitely excited and bold enough to tell you that iron sharpens iron, and
Amen.
I will put my back to you, brother, and I'm not dropping for nothing, right? And whatever you need from me, whatever you need from me, the love you have for me, the love your family has for me, it's insane, because I've watched you too many times, and I've said that's my mentality. And we came out tonight and spoke about Lions because that's all we know. We don't have a plan B, right? But going forward, I want to round this up, right? I want to wrap this up and put this in a nice bow because you dropped so many things on us, bro. And tonight was about knowing your power. But I want people to walk away with a few items. I want you to walk away with understanding what Vito said and what you heard tonight. Take action. Right? You got to be intentional, right? He said, stick with your strength, not your weakness. Never point fingers. Take ownership, right? And then the 3 questions that I had to write down myself. I had to write down these questions myself because I write down things that I put out and I want to say, but when you hear it from somebody else, right? And ask yourself after you've heard this show, did you actually write these questions down? Because that's what you're talking about, Vito, when you say take action, accountability, right? And so the questions are, what do you value the most in life? Number 2, what step did you take to make change? What step, when you was in that place of greatness and didn't understand the weariness of what was going on in your belly, what did you change? Did you change your crowd? Did you change your language? Did you change the places that you've been? Did you change your mentality? Name 2 areas in your life to change that you know you need to change in your life.
Come on, somebody. Oh, hallelujah.
And then when you find people who keep saying that they're your friends, go in your prayer closet and do yourself a favor. Ask yourself personally, do you care for yourself? Because if you care for yourself, then you're going to care for who around you. It's something you said, brother. It sparked something in me because you asked the question, can I trust you? But before you can trust anybody else, you must trust yourself.
Yes.
And if you don't trust yourself, meaning you haven't spent no time with yourself. And the last one is what all brothers, is what iron does. Iron sharpens iron. And that is simply, me and this brother are here together for one thing. How can we help?
Hallelujah. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
How can we be a servant to anybody that needs help, anybody that's dealing with fear, anybody that's dealing with pain? I said this earlier, right? The way that we lock away pain and we put it as an old memory. But all pain, no pain lasts always. No pain. My testimony, my story leads me to this last point. And the reason why I want to thank you, Vito, because I didn't wait for help. I asked for help. Because if we don't ask for it, closed mouths never get fed.
Come on, somebody.
Brother, I'm telling you, everything that you spoke, taking action, I live it. Being intentional,
amen.
I live it. Making a sacrifice, I live it.
Amen.
Sticking with my strengths, I live it. Never pointing fingers, I live it. Taking ownership, I live it, man. I freaking live it. And that's why we freaking eye to eye. And that's why we're going to fight the fight of good. Because the only way to fight is fighting with freaking good. Right?
Yes.
That's what we do, brother. Listen, man, I love you like a brother. I will see you soon. We got a lot of work to do. I so appreciate you coming on the show because you said it earlier. And I want you to, and I want all of us to remember this. There's a lot of males in this world, but there's very few men.
Come on, somebody.
And
it's true. It's a lot of males.
Until men stand back up and take the throne back.
Take the throne back. Amen. Come on, man.
And the throne is the kingdom is available for all of us. But
sacrifice.
The kingdom has principles and it has laws. And one thing that lets you know when you found the kingdom, the language never changes.
Come on, somebody.
Never changes.
Ray, I'm telling you, people don't understand why the lion's the king of the jungle. That's the question that everybody asks. Why? He's the biggest. He's the strongest. He's the most courageous animal. He goes on the lake full of alligator. He goes fight a by himself. He goes by himself. Alligator.
Don't matter.
I rule. I smell courage. Every animal in the jungle knows he's the king because he's courageous. And you know what? The only way to be courageous is to have faith. And we believe in things we don't see it. I believe America is going to be great, not because of president, because we're going to make everyone understand that we got to love ourselves to love others. We got to be united, not divided. Yep. And the second thing is this. When I read it in Genesis, when Adam covered himself with these leaves, everyone got to go and read in the book of Revelation. The same leaves that cover Adam is the leaves that's going to heal the nation. So was your shame? Whatever was your shame, it's going to be the healing of the nation. Whatever you had to deal with it, it's going to be the healing of our nation. So it's not your beauty, it's your shame that's going to heal the nation. So I believe so much in what you believe, and we're not going to back down. This fight is not our fight, comes from above. And guess what? We have an army right now. Lift it up, Ray. We have an army. My kids are ready to fight right now. And they're young. They're ready to fight. They don't want to surrender. Keep your sword, man. We drink the water. We drink the 300s. They drink the water. Hey, I'm here. I'm not gonna drop my weapon. We not drop the weapon.
Always ready.
We always carry our sword, and our sword is over here, man. It's inside. I cannot thank you enough, Ray. JD, it's like that's the beginning, man.
It's just the beginning.
That's the beginning,
brother. It don't get no better, JB. I don't know where to go from here, JB. I'm just telling you. I mean, wow. You do this to help somebody else, right? But when you do it and you help you feel different, right? like
can't help others till you help yourself.
Yeah, that's what we talking about. Listen, Vito, I love you, brother. JB, I love you, man. Final thoughts.
Love you guys.
Yeah, final thoughts. I tell you, it's time to take action. It's time to take action. It's time to become more serious about loving yourself. It's time to become more intentional about taking care of yourself. And it's time for you to promise yourself that you will sacrifice way more no's than yeses. Amen. Because the only way that you're going to change your life is you must become a beacon of light. And the only way you become light is you must reveal your greatest wounds. If your wounds are never covered with faith, it's impossible for you to have peace. You let this world keep tricking you and thinking that likes and followers gonna get you to a better place. The only thing gonna change your direction and your course of life is your mentality. And you better change it now.
Come on.
JB, I love you. Amen. Vito, I love you.
Love you guys.
Amen.
The Ray Lewis Show. It's in the books. We out. God bless you. Take care. Another episode. And man, I'm telling you, Vito dropped so many nuggets, so many gems. I'm honored to walk by this man's side. JB, we out.
Hallelujah. Peace out.
Let the church say amen, baby.
Amen.
Amen.